Hello. Hello, testing. 1 2 1 2. Hello, hello. Hello. Why isn't my thing showing up? There it is. There it is. Also, this is the wrong this is the wrong song to come in on. Oh man. All right, let's check these sound balance levels here, audio balance levels. Could be a little bit louder, I think. Don't want it to be too loud, but I do want you to be able to hear it. Okay. Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Soulsborne music, always great for this. So welcome to the 6th annual, just kidding. It's not exactly annual. Typically it happens like once every month or so. Welcome to the 6th Stoicism Stream Special. Bingo! Like other Stoicism Stream Specials, on top of talking about self-help, life advice, strats, just general enough to apply to whatever might be bothering you today, or tomorrow, or yesterday, or a little, or a lot. This stream is going to double function, like you and me are just hanging out, drinking coffee, and talking about the way that our brains work. I've set up a link to an anonymous sign-up list feedback site you can plug questions into anytime you have any questions about anything. In case you want to ask something, but it might be sensitive to you and or you don't want it to be associated with your Twitch username or whatever username it happens to be. The link is pinned at the top of the Twitch chat, can be summed up with !AMA on Twitch, and is on screen at the bottom of the stream itself, in case you're watching from YouTube. I'm gonna occasionally stop to check the site and answer questions. Hey Orica, good to see you. Or Oric, sorry. How you doing, buddy? For base covering purposes, I'm not accredited. I'm not certified. I'm not licensed anywhere to perform psychological or philosophical counseling. I can say that I know they've helped people, according to them, and anything I ever say in a Stoicism stream, I've practiced or I've applied myself to real-world situations, including some really spicy ones. There's no minimum or maximum amount of time this thing is going to run. We're just going to keep talking until it seems like a good time to stop. Then we're probably going to take somewhere north of like a 10 to 15 minute break, and then we'll swap to Wuthering Waves due to overwhelming demand. Lots of people would like to see me play Wuthering Waves, and it is on my radar, and I did install it. It's not audio balanced, so we'll have to go through that step. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. A lot of this stuff that's going to be coming out of my mouth is going to feel heavy. It's going to feel intense. If you have any questions about anything that we go over after the stream ends, just reach out to me on Discord, and I'll get back to you ASAP. I'm going to plug the socials into stream now. And there they are. Lastly, before we actually get started, why am I doing this? It's because I owe a debt. I owe this movement. I owe the philosophy of Stoicism. I owe these people from thousands of years ago for who I am, and the belief that I can actually become the type of person I wanted to be since I was a kid through my own efforts. I owe it to the people going through what I did the majority of my life, hopefully to give them the tools they need to help themselves before they get to a point where they might feel like completely, utterly alone, like I did once. It is my goal to stream part-time. If we get there, then we'll think about full-time. So as I have as many opportunities as possible to impact people that could be suffering, and that I might be able to help by teaching them a new way of thinking about things. If I continue helping even one person every stream, I consider it accomplishing my core goals, no matter how much or how little money flows through the channel, or whether I float 1 million followers or 1,000. So let's talk about what we went over the last time that we did one of these Stoicism streams. We talked about my history with it, like really high level overview stuff. We talked about what the Stoics considered to be the cause, the origin, the nature of our desires and fears. And so that's what we're gonna start with today. Is what our desires what our fears, what should be our perspective, according to the Stoics, and in my own opinion. What should our perspective be of what we're feeling and why? So we're gonna start with a quote from a dude named Seneca the Younger. You don't have to know who that is. Seneca was an advisor to Nero before, during, and after he went crazy, and then Nero basically asked, well, not basically, he literally asked Seneca to eat a big sandwich because he was nuts. He was nuts, and he believed that everyone had it out for him. And so, you know, constant compulsory executions on demand were kind of Nero's thing for a bit. That's what really got him out of bed in the morning. Welcome in, Franny. Good to see you. Would you really know what philosophy offers to humanity? Philosophy offers counsel. Death calls away one man. Poverty chases another. A third person is worried by somebody else's money or by his own money. So-and-so is afraid of their own bad luck. Another wants to get away from his own good fortune. Some are ill-treated by other people. Other people believe that the gods are responsible for how their life is going. It's no occasion to mess around. You're basically put in this position as a practicing Stoic or otherwise who try to help people, in addition to helping yourself. And there's not really a ton of time for that. You are taking on, by becoming a practicing Stoic, you are promising to help people, regardless of what position they are in life, and that you should refocus on that. I'm paraphrasing it a little bit because I lost track of I lost track of mentally where the quote was going, but it essentially was the rub, so to speak. So we talked about last time that we did one of these streams. We value things according to how we feel in two different ways. Things that are in our power and things that are outside of our control. Things that are inside our control, according to the Stoics, are what we desire, what we fear, the opinions that we have, thoughts that we have, and the judgments that are underlying. Things that are outside of our control include our body, the things that we have, what other people think of us, like our reputation, and what roles or occupations we end up getting by the graces of other people or otherwise. Whether we hold on to what makes us a good person and whether we feel a sense of peace from that, it depends on us properly managing what's going on in our own minds and how we approach things that happen to us to the best of our abilities. When this is explained to us, we seem to just kind of get it. At least for me, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That things that are inside my own mind, I seem to have much more leeway than things outside of my mind, where because I'm basically just like a dude piloting around a meat mech. It's not exactly clear. It's not exactly clear what all tools I have in order to make things happen. Like, I can't will things into existence. I can't demand that things be a certain way. The best thing that I can do is try to maneuver things in such a way to be how I would like them to be. She's up here. She's fine. She's just chilling. We can try to maneuver things to be how we would like them to be, but ultimately we are just one guy. We are just one guy. We are a series of guys, and so on. It's just a bit. Outside of our own minds, it's a series of butterfly effects. So we seem to just kind of like get it when it's explained to us that way, like that. But there is a resistance to the idea at the same time. That's perfectly understandable. This resistance, this not wanting to believe that we are not 100% in control of our own physical fates, is a product of living in a culture or world that is suggested to us to be the keys to happiness and satisfaction and contentment and peace. Things like, you know, it's you want to be a good person, but at the same time, if you want to live a unfucked life, you need money, or you need to have like a PlayStation 6, or you need to have all the characters in the new gacha game Wuthering Waves. Things like that. It's just constant bombardment from outside sources that we need these things in order to be okay. These things that are always suggested to be the next big thing, such as like a new car, or like a better looking appearance, a slimmer body, a bigger house, a vacation, cushy office job, so on and so forth. They gave plenty of examples. We've lived all of our lives under this constant siege of stuff that is said needs to be integral, or at least partial to us feeling okay, or to us feeling at peace. Though we wish for something more, we see those around us reacting to those influences. So it's typically like our day-to-day is like a random mix or a hodgepodge of you should be a good person, but also, did you see this new cool thing? Did you see this new cool thing that I got? And stuff like that. This doesn't look like Final Fantasy 14. It isn't. Is it? Do I have it labeled as Final Fantasy 14? No, I have this labeled as Final Fantasy 11. Yeah, I'm sorry, Wolfers. I'm sorry. I don't know when the next time I would play Final Fantasy 14 is. I put my dues in there. I put my dues in Final Fantasy 14. Shout out, it's Franny B. I'm okay with one more apocalyptic event, making it so that I have to go to set up like a beach buffet and stuff like that. Oh, you're sitting to work, Franny. What the heck is up with that? Shout out, it's Franny B. Welcome in, Ness. Good to see you. In order for us to escape this cycle of this constant feeling that we need, that life is like an endless search for things to make us feel good or to avoid pain, we have to identify how our brain perceives these things and how that perception affects, intermingles with our desires, our fears, habits that we've formed, belief set that we've had, that we've nailed down for years. There's almost some of them as beliefs as long as we've been alive. We have to determine if how our perspective of things matches reasonably with the patterns, the mechanics that make up the natural order of the world. So basically, seeing things not as we would like to see them in terms of things that are pleasant, or at least not painful, but as they are, and trying to understand how to maneuver in light of that psychologically. Welcome in, Sumi. Shout out, Sumi, Sami. Oh, Moa, who did that? What was that? Cutley? Yeah. Get owned. Get owned. Quasquist, Jew 1372. JW 1372. Let's do a quick ban on that one. That's a hell of a name right now. As Jews 1372. All right, that was a close one. I'm glad I set that up. Oh man. Okay, so if you wish it, if the framing does not match reasonably, if how we're perceiving things doesn't seem to be in line with how we've determined the natural world kind of works, we have to make a choice. Either we have to continue thinking in terms of how we have been, to continue basically as, you know, as we have been, as we've been thinking about things and everything that entails, or we have to try to adjust the way that our brain interprets information and what it does with that information. Nightbot did a good job, but my cheap viewer opportunity, I know. If you want to become somebody that practices stoicism, even if you, and again, you don't have to subscribe to being a stoic in order to make use of this stuff. If you want to use any of this stuff at all, there is a choice that you kind of have to make. You have to try to understand why your brain perceives things the way that it does, to try to identify if there's a better way of thinking about things, and then trying your best, putting as much effort as you can into trying to really think that way. And it's not gonna be easy. The Seneca, one of the Stoics, framed it basically like all our life we've been living, thinking in terms of things like as if we were like a stick. Okay, just let me cook. Just roll with me for a second. Like a stick that is bent in a certain way. Okay, when you are trying to bend this stick into being a different shape for whatever reason that you're trying to bend this stick, it's going to try to revert to whatever its original shape is going to be. It's only by trying to bend it or keep it in the shape that you're looking to bend it into for a long time that it actually starts to retain that new shape. Okay. So this is your first step, just acknowledging that it's part of using Stoicism effectively is understanding that we can't think the way that we normally think. We can't think the way that others normally think. We can't think in ways that we've been accustomed to thinking for years and years and years. There has to be a little bit of giving or adjustment in some way. So I guess keeping all the best G viewers, true. You need to get the stick wet and warm and then clamp it into the new shape for well. True, yes. So what we choose to value and why, and how deeply determines our reactions to the things that we're perceiving, things that we're worried about, things that we're going to be dealing with in the future. We have to try to go by the barometer of our power, control, will, judgment. Everything falls under this internal power. Everything that involves our ability to exercise choice is ours. That nobody can do anything about the choices that we make. Okay, they could do things like try to physically stop you from exercising on the choices, but they can't stop you from trying to initiate those choices. They can't stop you from forming these choices. They can't stop anything that's going on inside of you. Okay, which doubles up as one of the reasons why it's so important to try to think about things in terms like that, because it means that any action that you do with good intentions is not possible to be harmed or manipulated or anything by any other person except for you. The only thing, paraphrasing Epictetus, the only thing in the world that is invulnerable is a person's own choice, and the only thing that can override or do away with or transform that choice is that person's other choice. If you will a storm to stop, it's not going to stop. It's going to, until we invent some sort of method of controlling the weather, and even then we can't control whether the weather manipulating machine is going to is going to work properly that day. Okay, it's not going to stop until it's over. If you want an illness or some pain that is happening in you to stop, you can do things such as like take medication, see doctors if you have it as many times as you need to, if you have the means, and so on and so forth. But you can't will it to stop. You can't just decide to stop having pain or to stop being sick. If you hope to be a millionaire by 40, the money is not going to assemble itself and make its way to you. Conventionally speaking, if you will to live forever, it's not going to be so unless you're like Bezos or Elon Musk, where I'm sure that they've already figured out how to make the plot of Soma happen, where they copy their consciousness into a cyborg body. You know that they're looking for that. You know that they're working on that. We may reasonably make the argument that we can influence how things impact us by degrees. By taking actions, we can put on a raincoat to stop ourselves from getting completely soaked by the wind and cold of a storm. We can go to a doctor. We can have the illnesses checked out. We can take medication we receive as directed. We can balance our money. You can come up with a complex but effective business plan. We could try to improve our bodies through vigorous exercise. We could try to get the best possible care for our bodies so we can maintain a well-balanced diet. In each of these cases, we are still the reacting party. And the primary element that we're concerned with is not being a reactive party. We're trying to become the active agent instead of us just existing in meat space. Okay, I know I'm a VTuber. Just put that aside for a second. Because from existing in meat space, we're accustomed to just kind of having things happen to us. We're just being buffeted back and forth by events doing shit to us, and not being fully sure, how much agency we have in the situation. The core goal as a meat suit, can't confirm. I do. Sometimes I show it off, sometimes randomly. I should let Freddy know at least like 15 minutes in advance if I'm gonna do like a micro meat stream or something with a fair amount of certainty. Ness has seen it. It is real. Real Stoic meat Stoic is real. He can hurt you. He wouldn't, but he could. So we're used to existing like that. We're used to just maneuvering through life, having shit happen to us, and trying to assemble what few things we seem to have control over to try to deal with that shit. And it doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to feel that way. That we are under constant attack by like things, just a constant series of things just happening to us, or us chasing after things. It takes work. Like, it takes like a lot of effort to actually start thinking in terms like that, but it is possible. It's not always easy. In fact, it's very rarely easy until you do it for a while, and then you start to notice second nature changes in the way that you think about things, the way that you perceive things, the way that you approach your day-to-day, even things as small as, what you're going to have for lunch. It matters. It matters. And when you start thinking about things in terms like that, you become an acting agent. You turn these things, this constant siege of things that are just sort of happening to you, into fuel for yourself, instead of just something to be bombarded by. What depends on us, what ultimately depends on us, what is in our control, even if it doesn't feel like it in this moment, because I know it doesn't, is our judgments. How we choose to act on those judgments. In other words, it's not the things outside of us that we should have our greatest concern with in and of themselves. It's our choices and our behaviors, the type of behaviors that we try to model in response to them. We can influence things outside of ourselves as far as we can, but the end result of these physical things is that they're going to be affected by physical things. Whether it's our property, whether it's our own bodies, what have you. And this happens regardless of how powerful or influential we are. All you have to do is cast a cursory glance at like gossip type media to see that even people who have like infinite power, seemingly infinite wealth, what have you, can still be miserable. They could have an endless series of yachts. They could have like a super yacht carrier that carries their other super yachts that then therein carry their own yachts. Okay, like some sort of like fucking StarCraft Protoss carrier. But at the same time, they are still human. They still have to play by the rule set that the caveman brains that we've been rocking for thousands of years, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of years. The basic building blocks that make up us, the thing that is inside of you that you refer to as I or me, is the same. Like, it doesn't matter how much stuff that you have. It all depends on your approach to it. or lack of stuff. So paraphrasing, Epictetus, the objects that we're concerned with are indifferent. These things I've been talking about outside of us. How we use them isn't indifferent. Every situation is appropriately thought of as a source of fuel for virtue. To understand how we do this, welcome in, Xantos, we need to think of ourselves as fulfilling a role in relation to whatever situation or a series of situations that we're in. Suck, you're too big, shrink yourself. I'm not going to do that. There's something happening on screen. We're not playing anything. We're not playing anything. So I'm going to stay this size. There's a reason why I'm this big, Xantos, is because somebody that's going to be looking at the category waterfall pretty. I guess that's a good reason, isn't it? Something like that. That's better. So that people can come by, look at the category, be like, what's this dude that's taking up half the screen? I'm gonna go check that out. Zoom in. Enhance. It's a goal. This goal that we're trying to form in ourselves, that we're trying to actualize, begins and resolves within ourselves by our own efforts, independent of things that are happening outside of us. We can try to do the best that we can to do our job well at a retail store. We can try to do the best that we can working front desk retail, or working front desk like customer service at like a cable or a cable, internet, or phone store. We can try to do the best that we can with the very difficult situations that come from working in a behavioral school or working with children in like an elementary school. We can't control whether the kids are going to, you know, not try to take each other out that day, or that somebody is going to come flying up to you within about 30 seconds with a piece of torn cable in their hands and try to make like a carnival of the situation and slam the piece of cable down on top of the counter and be like, do you know what this is? From the moment I understood the weakness of my flesh, welcome in, freaking Samaritan! Welcome in, Samaritan. It's good to see you, buddy. We expand this thought process outward. It's entirely appropriate to have as our goal the desire to be a good family member. How our brothers or sisters or uncles or aunts or nephews or nieces or whomever treat us is up to them. It's like I mentioned before, nobody can influence another person's will to exercise their own choice or how they go about things. We can only influence ourselves ultimately. So how those other people treat us or treat themselves is entirely up to them. It follows that even if we treat them well, it may not be enough for them to react the same way towards us or other people. Whether or not you're a good family member respective to that person is within your power. And whether you succeed in this or not is independent of whether your brother or sister or whomever in this example that I'm giving you is going to react, how they're going to react to you. We could go further. It's appropriate to have as our goal, according to the Stoics, the desire to be benevolent or merciful or a good example to other people. It's appropriate because we can do this whether we are rich or whether we have nothing, whether we're powerful or whether we have no idea or no kind of control whatsoever in the typical sense. We can do this whether we have like a lot of status or whether we don't, whether we're famous or not. We're able to exercise virtue. We're able to try to be a good role model in any situation whatsoever and form goals and complete those goals to strengthen that feeling. Mentioned in the past, learning to form and complete goals within ourselves is crucial to our development as social and rational animals by whatever power that be. There's nuances to this type of thinking that you'll learn with time and with practice. For example, It's important that we practice compassion towards other people because it's important to our role as a human being in relation to other human beings, and because it's a goal that begins and resolves into itself. The benefit, the fulfillment in that accomplishment stays with us no matter what and can't be affected by any other person. The exercise of compassion is independent of how our compassion is received or whether it's even noticed by anyone else. And I need to stress that turning how we form goals inward does not mean that it has to come at the cost of our feeling things towards stuff outside of ourselves. It's a common misconception that is as old as Stoicism itself, that Stoics are trying to become robots, or that they're trying to get themselves to a point where they feel nothing, or that they can just turn off what they're feeling as like a convenient like a mode, like something like a switch to flip on and off. It's not possible. It's not possible for us to stop feeling things altogether. Okay. We can try to fulfill the role of a social, rational human being at all times. The objective is to try to learn to frame things as they are, not as we wish them to be, to know where and how to make the distinction clear to ourselves. So this is kind of like segueing into something that we covered before in, I think, the last Stoicism stream. In Stoicism, because we're focusing on like forming and completing goals inside of ourselves, right? In Stoicism, there are two different types, two different big chunks of feelings that we're going to move. My arms don't move, okay? But just imagine, that I'm moving these two chunks left and right of your screen, respectively. Stage left, stage right, okay? In the left half are typically what most people feel literally all the time. Either they desire something, or they are afraid of something, or they want something, or they want to avoid something. So desires and fears, and aversions, and whatever word you want to use for the last one. Being afraid of something happening right now, feeling pleasure at something happening right now. So fear, pleasure, desire, and fear. No, fear, fucking God, dude. I need to write this down. Just give me a second. The information is there. Fear, pleasure, just something actively happening, desire, and avoidance. Okay, there it is. Took me a second. In Stoicism, we are trying to maneuver away from those things, okay? Because each of those feelings are pointing at something outside of ourselves, okay? And again, we're trying to reform the way that we contextualize shit that's happening outside of ourselves inward. We're trying to turn our locus of value, what we value outside of ourselves, and we're trying to... You need a whiteboard to draw on behind you. That would be good. That's a good idea. We're trying to turn it inward. So what do these feelings look like when you are trying to form and complete goals that are all internalized? The Stoics had this term for these emotions that you feel from these internal goals, that sounds paradoxically called rational emotions. Okay, and they referred to pleasure, fear, desire, avoidance as passions. That's typically, and not to be confused with the current American nomenclature of that term, which means to be passionate about something, to feel strongly about something. It's what it directly translates to. The word means something conceptually different than what we typically think of when we hear passion or passionate. It's not entirely divorced from that idea, but it does mean something a little bit different to them. In the Stoic half, on the other side, are the rational emotions. So we have fear, pleasure. I'm gonna write it on here. Fuck it. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Text 2. Select font. Probably not size 256. We have... Give me a second. Maybe it does need to be a little bit bigger than that. 144. Okay. Okay. I'm going to move this over here or so. And then I'm going to move it to the left a little bit. Okay. Don't worry about what 14 means. 14 doesn't mean anything. Okay. So, pleasure is immediate. Fear, immediate, desire, wanting, avoidance, not wanting. Okay. These are... Bridge, Raymond? Raymond, if you can come out of the woodwork and make this shit happen just naturally and smoothly. I am not a professor, but, you know, and I'm also not accustomed to saying this stuff out loud, just thinking about it incessantly. Please, Raymond, give me your strength, to the same strength that you showed while I completely ignored your question for 50 minutes. Passions. Then we'll have to make it smaller, I think. Rational emotions. That would be the counterpart to feeling pleasure. In the typical sense as we know it in Stoicism. It's called joy. Immediate happiness from completing own internal goals. That's definitely going to stretch off the screen, isn't it? And then we're going to have to do this. We'll have to make it smaller. Do this. Do this. Okay. Do this. Completing own internal goals. No, you're good. You're totally fine. Wishing, which is wanting... the wanting others, hoping for the best, optimism within, hoping, naturally caring for others, naturally. How do I frame this, dude? Greek words are hard. General optimism towards wanting others to be okay. Basically, yeah. Just wanting other people to be in a good situation mentally. And caution. Avoiding things. Voiding irrational thoughts, behaviors, and there's no counterpart for fear. Okay. Alright, so what we're gonna do here is I am going to outline this. Outline 20. Line 20, and then black. Okay. Alright. That's actually gonna help me a lot. So when we feel things, it's either like if you just got like a piece of cake or something, you're like, oh wow, cake, amazing. I'm gonna eat this cake, it's gonna feel really good to me to eat this cake. The fear of not having cake, desire wanting cake, avoidance of not wanting cake because you can see like there's a mold on it or something like that. Rational emotions would be the joy that comes from you trying to mind your own diet, and despite how much you enjoy that, you know that you like cake because of the dopamine signals that it sends to your brain, you successfully avoided the compulsion or controlled the compulsion to eat the cake. Okay? Wishing is wishing other people to also have that feeling in themselves. Or wish it. I shouldn't use this cake example, dude. Cake is good, dude. Oh dear, I need to grab a thesaurus for us. There's no counterpart in Stoicism for fear, because all the rational emotions are internalized. They're based off of the feelings that we have from completing goals that we create and fulfill in ourselves. And it doesn't make sense to be afraid of anything in that context, because anything that we're afraid of, we can control inside of ourselves. So that's why in Stoicism, there's no feeling of active fear in the context of what we're trying to accomplish in ourselves. So learning to think of things in this way earns you the ability to come to terms with something that's uncomfortable but necessary to acknowledge. Things do not always turn out the way that we want them to. They do, however, when all the causes and effects intermingle, happen the way that they can, the way that they have to in that specific circumstance, after everything shakes out, after we do whatever it is that we whatever influence we have on the situation, whatever resources that are at play, whatever other people are doing, whether it's, you know, sunny out, whether it's raining, what have you, after all that stuff shakes out, things will happen in a certain way. It's a term in Stoicism called things being co-fated, that it's not necessarily dependent on you or any specific thing happening, or any specific like presence of anything. Things will happen in a certain way, and we can influence it to a degree, but we then become part of the chain of causes and effects. Because your goals in this context, to left, everything you know in the box to the left, everything is sorry, my brain stopped for a second. Let me go back for a minute. Because our goals are self-formed and self-realized, our resistance to circumstances that are not our favorite are going to increase, along with our self-sufficiency. I'm gonna hit the snooze button a couple times so that my ad break timer actually works properly. Got about 20 minutes. At the same time, increasing your focus on trying to fulfill whatever role you have in relation to whatever it is that you're dealing with, well, are going to improve the chances that things will turn out as you prefer anyway. That we're not depending our peace of mind on things happening a certain way, independent of our best efforts. Just that we basically saying to ourselves, we did our best, I'm going to let the rest happen the way that it's going to, because it necessarily will. We're trying to avoid depending our peace of mind on the results. We're trying to depend our peace of mind on our choices that are grafted into our actions leading up to the result, and how we react to those results. The objective is not to disconnect yourself from the outside world. It's to come to terms with what you have and do not have reasonable control over. The goal is to fashion yourself into a type of person that can give their all independent of the circumstances and draw satisfaction and value from thinking that way. The end result of this, what this accomplishes in the end, is that it gives you tools. It allows you to benefit psychologically from extremely difficult circumstances, in situations where you or others stumble all the time, right now, and to avoid being swept away or caught off guard in very unpredictable circumstances. Or if things are going really, really, really well, conventionally, that you don't allow your peace of mind to depend on all these new neat things that you have access to. Easier said than done, and you will fuck up. I fuck up all the time. I fucked up yesterday. I fucked up the day before that. The key is not to beat yourself up when you do misstep, or when you do unfortunately give in a way that makes you feel less than proud of yourself in a practicing Stoic context. None of us are experts at anything. Even if we've done it for a really, really long time, there is always something to learn. As long as at the end of the day, you are able to identify what your mental missteps were, what the philosophically or belief consistent way of going about things was, and to try to think in those terms for real the next time that they seem to come about. There are two categories of emotions. Emotions that result from rational judgments on the screen, and those that don't. The term for emotions that result from rational judgments are what we've covered: joy, caution, wishing. Joy is a feeling of cheerfulness and gladness. Caution is a feeling of humility and being prudent about things, about what's going on inside of you. And wishing is just generally not being an asshole, of just being kind and friendly to people. The goal of a practicing Stoic is to continually try to commit actions based on rational judgments that try to improve some virtue in you, that try to make you more courageous, or more compassionate, or more patient. The knowledge that you purposefully benefited from trying to think this way, it results in these good emotions, quote unquote, these rational emotions. The misconception that Stoics are trying to become devoid of all emotions is not true. Stoics are trying to observe and guide the mental processes that happen inside of ourselves that result in what we feel day to day. This lets us more effectively determine what is or what is not appropriate to feel regarding things in question, based off of the typically really limited information that we have, and what the very first thing that we feel in response to that thing is. Because stuff happens every single day where we think that it's like the worst thing ever. It's the worst thing ever, or conversely, paradoxically, it's the best thing ever. And then when the best or worst thing ever doesn't seem to be the best or worst thing ever, or it's something completely different, we create this cliff that we sort of like step off of each time that we do that. Mentally speaking. This means that the consistent, deliberate practice of forming, acting on rational judgment results in positive, constructive emotions, the rational emotions. Many today refer to emotions in terms of like our organs, right? What we feel in our heart, what we feel in our gut, while the judgments are in our head, or our mind, or our brain. Typically, we're used to delineating what we feel and what we think into two entirely separate camps, right? Like, my heart wants this, but my mind wants this. It's typically how we frame it, right? Forcibly eject that idea from your brain. Super hard. Launch it into space. Get it away from you. It's no longer just cook with me for a second. Come over here. In RP, I gesture you towards me. Okay? It's more appropriate. It's more effective in this context of what I'm trying to teach, to think of what we typically think of as our heart, or what we typically think of as our mind or our brain, as two sides to the same coin. They're interconnected. You cannot have one without the other. You just flip it over. It's the same thing. How we think about things influences our emotions. And what we feel is derived from how we think about things on some fundamental level. Our belief systems, our habits, our judgments, whatever terminology you want to use, that's where the feelings are coming from. They're suggested to be separate entities that compete for attention, and that it's rational to listen to one or the other. The type and severity of what we feel and how we experience them results from our judgments that led to their creation. It's important to recognize the separation of the heart and mind as an illusion. Understanding how we form judgments allow us to assess, interpret, and improve this mental through line in ourselves. So let's try to explain it. What does it actually look like? Anytime anything happens to us, literally at all, from the moment that we're conscious, and kind of simulated while we're in dreams, which is another, which is a weird thing to think about. But IYK. We collect as a physical meat person. We collect data from outside of us. This collection of data from our sensory inputs is called the impression in Stoicism. This impression combines nearly simultaneously with an involuntary value judgment that the Stoics refer to as the first movement. Basically, the very, very, very first thing that you feel, and in response to external stimulus, is called the first movement. You might even refer to it as like a fight or flight type instinct. It's basically what in our pure animal brains, our caveman brains, would allow us to be like, hey, is that a fucking tiger? And then it ends up being like a bush or something. Or is that like a berry bush full of delicious berries and it ends up being a tiger? You know, it's like the whole cake reference before. When the impression, the collection of data combines with this involuntary value judgment, it becomes a proposition. This proposition in Stoicism is thing that is happening combined with what our very, very first feeling, our first impulsive feeling about that thing is. And then combining it together into something that our human rational brains understand and can either agree is happening or disagree or postpone, dissent, whatever term you want to use, isn't happening, or that there's not enough information. We can basically say, this is how I feel about what seems to be happening, but I'm gonna try to stall it out until I could be sure. We either give or withhold something in Stoicism called assent, which is like the agreeance that this thing is happening and this is bad and that's true. It's the agreement or belief that the thing is happening, accurate, true, or real. If the person agrees with this proposition that this thing is happening and this is good or bad, whatever emotions are associated with that thought happen. Like a more extreme, enduring version of whatever you first originally felt from it. So let's do an example. A person is told through sight and hearing that they should receive a sizable check in the mail any day now. The value judgment that this is good immediately chases that, because we believe that money leads to things that increase the chances that like we improve our how do I word this? We think that money is good. Yes, we've agreed as a species, after a long series of banging sticks and rocks together, that we just feel that money is good, not in and of itself, but because of the nice, neat things that it can get for us. Yes, so we're just falling off of that judgment that money is good because the things that it is suggested to bring us are good as of this current moment. The impression and value judgment are combined together into the proposition: I'm gonna get money soon, and this is good. Money is a medium of exchange, Stoic. It has no inherent value. I know that. That's what I'm saying. If the person chooses to believe that this proposition is accurate, that they're going to receive a check, that this is good, they will feel, in using the modern use of the term, happy. They will feel happy. They'll feel content. They'll feel relieved. Dopamine, serotonin, endorphins. If the check gets lost in the mail or is otherwise denied for some reason, like they basically recalled the check, that person's going to experience negative emotions because they brought themselves up on that cliff saying that this thing is really, really good that I am newly perceiving. And then thing happens that brings it back down. So they feel an even more negative adverse reaction because they're either the amazing thing, the thing that's been said to be amazing, is not happening anymore or won't happen for some time, for some reason. And that there's inbuilt frustration related to trying to unfuck that situation. It's because the person assented that money is a good, or at least the things that it is said to get for that person is good, that receiving the check is guaranteed, and that they were therefore denied a good thing. And that also, in addition, makes it more likely that the person is going to lash out. Inwardly or otherwise. They're going to blame the mailman. They're going to feel negatively towards the person that denied the check or recalled it or what have you. They're gonna be pissed. Another example. So a person sees that a backpack is left unattended somewhere. A different person, whether trying to imagine what's in the backpack or happening to know what's in the backpack by happening to see what was in the backpack beforehand, some point in the past, comes across the backpack and for reasons known only to them, opens it up. Or they approach the backpack with the intention to steal. Or they mistakenly believe that their backpack was the one next to it because it's literally the same color and they forgot which one was theirs. The person discovers that there's a laptop, a brand new laptop in the backpack, and decides to take it. The person is probably experiencing the impression, I see a backpack left alone for some time. It looks like there's stuff inside of it. Their value judgment is, there may be something worth taking or something that I could use. If that is the through line to begin with. Based off of judgments that they've had in the past of whether it is better for the person to steal something than it is for them to care about the person that's impacting. So it combines together to form a proposition. I see a backpack, I should look inside of it. There might be something that I could take from it. The person discovers there's a laptop inside of it and chooses to take it after agreeing to the idea that that is something valuable worth taking and being seen as like a net good versus the negative impact it's going to have on whoever's laptop was just stolen. That's a real example, by the way. I'm gonna hit the snooze button one more time because this is one of those applied examples that I keep harping about. In college, it was around the time that laptops were like ubiquitous, right? That it was unusual for people to use pen and paper notes. I only had a desktop, okay? And it's not exactly feasible for me to lug around a desktop unless you're being a shit. You can suggest to me that it's feasible. Why don't you carry it around in a little car with a battery pack, idiot? It's not feasible to carry around a desktop, right? So what was happening for probably the better part of 2 years when I was in college is that I would physically write down on paper with a physical pencil the notes or whatever I had to pay attention to or whatever was being taught to me. I had to write it down, and then when I got home, I would have to transcribe my notes or whatever the assignment was onto my computer. I did that for like 2 years, and it was annoying. it was annoying and inconvenient, but I put up with it because, you know, especially after the Stoicism started to do its thing, I started to just deal with it. I was like, it's not the inconvenience that matters. It's how I try to approach the inconvenience psychologically that matters. But I was like, okay, so, you know, it is going to open up more time if I have a laptop. Like, it's gonna open up more time if I have a laptop. I don't have a ton of money, but I am able to, like, for a school purpose, I'm able to rationalize having a laptop. I'm going to get a laptop that is not inexpensive, but not expensive. Something that is going to last me a long time, in theory, that runs well, that is not shitty, that has a display size that is not huge but is not small, so I don't have to struggle in any way to see what I'm typing or what I'm doing. So I went to the store, I grabbed a laptop. It was like $700, $800, something like that. I brought it home with me, and I was like, man, this is great. I don't have to transcribe anything. I can just put shit on the cloud. That's awesome. And then when I went to go get food, I just like every other human being on the planet at that college, I had my laptop with me in my backpack. And I went to go get a burrito, a chicken tender burrito, I believe it was, because they had buffalo chicken burritos. Oh my god, dude, it's so fucking good. It's unreal. Anyways, so I got my burrito, and I went back to the cubbies that are supposed to be where you store backpacks, the cubbies that are facing inward towards the cafeteria, to try to dissuade people from, you know, doing anything nefarious. And my backpack wasn't there. And understand that it was like a week before this that I got this laptop, if that. The backpack was just gone. It was just gone. I had no idea where it was. It had a bunch of textbooks and shit in it. A lot of really important things that were in there. That should have been the moment where the sentence, the idea that my backpack is gone, it seems to have been stolen, or at the very least somebody grabbed it, and I have no idea where they are right now. Anybody could get anywhere in like 5 minutes, right? This is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to try to see things from the perspective of this person, to try to see what's happening internally, to try to get on top of the feeling now, and say the impression, the circumstances that I'm experiencing right now are not fully representative of everything. I don't have all the information to tell where my backpack is. I can't make the assumption that whoever it is took my backpack to be malicious, or to try to take something inside of it, right? To steal from me. If somebody did steal from me, they're doing what appears best to them because they just don't know any better. If they did know any better, if they did know that it's not worth impacting other people to get something, to steal from another person, and affecting them in some way, then they would have acted differently. They would have just done something differently. Or maybe the person didn't feel like they had a choice. If they did intentionally steal it, it's possible that the person was like, I have no money. I know that there's a laptop in there. I need a laptop. I have no means of getting a laptop for myself. I'm going to try to take it. Whatever the reason is known only to the person that took the laptop. And so all that I could do in this situation is try to commit a good faith effort to finding the laptop. And so because I did my due diligence, I still had the laptop box and everything like that. So I got all the serial numbers. I got the time of day that it was. I got I got the exact cubby location, what have you. I don't think campus police are exactly going to go around fingerprinting, but still, you know, I wanted to give complete information. And I went to campus police, I gave them all the information, and literally nothing happened. Literally nothing happened. My laptop was just gone. It was there for a week or so, and then it was just gone. But the thing is that I survived without a laptop before. The laptop has no feelings about being stolen. The laptop is not telling me that it is bad that it was taken. I am the one that's telling myself that the laptop being taken is bad. I am the one that doubles down on the idea that I am made worse by me no longer having this thing. And so I can either choose to feel that way, or I can try to make something constructive out of the feelings that I'm having. And if I try to turn a situation that is as negative as that into something positive, nobody can take that away from me. I have from that point a example, an instance in which I have shown myself that I was stronger than my circumstances. That not only was I more enduring than my circumstances, but I tried to make something useful out of them. And that's pretty powerful shit. That's pretty powerful shit. That's an example of what I'm describing to you when I say turning yourself from a reacting agent to things happening outside of you to an acting agent. Of somebody that is not just responding to things, but is choosing to try to take things that happen, positive or negative, and make them into something more enduring, more lasting, more constructive. So we're gonna have ads in about a minute. I'm going to run them now. I'm gonna go to the little stoic robot VTuber in a toga room and you know, freshen up a little bit, get myself caked up on a Saturday. We'll be back in a couple to a few minutes. All right. If you enjoyed this so far, we're not done yet, but if you've enjoyed this so far, consider following. If you like this a lot and have the means, consider subscribing. Every single penny gets tracked and reinvested into the channel. Alrighty, I will see you in a few minutes. All right, we are back. Woo!
Break fire!
Oh, it's Doman.
It's Doman.
Disconnected.
Oh my god, he's
This transition, I don't think I've seen it before. It's pretty rare for me. Also, welcome in, Carbon. It's pretty rare for us to switch between scenes. In most cases, unless I really need to use like the little Stoic VTubers room. I don't really like, and outside of like booting up the stream for the first time, I don't really see it that often. It's a nice little treat. It's a nice little visual treat. Thank you. Okay, so what were we talking about before? Me having a laptop stolen and me trying to make use of it. I never got my laptop back. I never got my laptop back. I made peace with it. I was in student government also at the time, and when I showed up without a laptop, which everybody was expected to have a laptop, they were like, "Where's your laptop?" And I was like, "I'm not going to make a show of it. I'm just gonna state exactly what happened." And I said, "My laptop was stolen." So I'm just gonna use pen and paper. And they were like, "Oh, okay." So what could have occurred in the person that took the laptop? It depends on their disposition. It depends on a series of events that happen to that person over the course of their life, of their habit of acting or reacting to things that involve laptops or involve taking things. It involves like what their general thought process on a day-to-day is. It involves what their emotional disposition was at the time. These things can either have the person justify in themselves doing XYZ thing, or not. They said to themselves in that moment before they took my backpack with the laptop in it, and I know that they tried to steal it because I will say this, while I didn't get my laptop back, sorry, this is information that my brain is summoning up from the event. While I didn't get my laptop back, I did get the backpack back, which might sound insane. But I did go to the cafeteria the day afterward, and my backpack was just chilling in one of the garbage bins. It was just chilling in one of the garbage bins and had the books inside of it. So that makes it even more confusing for what could have been gone through this person. They took the laptop, like they didn't have to bring the backpack back. They brought the backpack back with the books inside it, and I was like, okay, well, I'll take it. I'll take it, dude. I'll take having my books back and my backpack back, so I don't have to get another one. They could have just put it back in the same cubby instead of throwing it in the trash. Oh, but you know, that makes it more confusing. Again, you never know what's going on inside of a person. You can only try to observe their behaviors to try to make an educated guess. But only that person knows what they're feeling, why, and what they're gonna do with that why and how. They could have thought to themselves, I don't have money for a new laptop. I need one for classes. I feel sorry for doing this. I don't really have a choice. Or if this person, i.e. Stoic, is stupid enough to leave their laptop in the open, even though it was in a dedicated cubby for the express purpose of leaving behind your belongings so that you can go and get food, it should be taken. Or it could be as essentially as simple a course of thought as, nice, sick, free laptop, and without much thought paid about me at all. There's one more example. Let's say that you're stopping at a gas station and you actually drop, you have a money with we have an envelope with money in it for some reason. Somebody gave you money to use for some specific purpose, and you drop it. It just falls out. It falls out of your pocket, it falls off your dash, what have you. You drive off. Money is left on the ground. Person sees the envelope, it's dropped. Person looks at it, sees the money inside. Person decides it's appropriate to take the money because of a judgment that money is good. And assents to the proposition that this is happening and this is how I initially feel about it, that it's appropriate to take. They provide justification themselves. Justification that's only known to them. If the person is so careless, the money may as well be mine. How do I know the person that left behind the money isn't wealthy or an asshole or both? I'm neither in my own contextualized impression of myself, so the money is better left with me. Or they could think to themselves, I don't feel entirely okay taking this, but I could use the money. If they knew me, they'd understand. If ultimately, and this also happened to me, I was working at a special needs organization where I was working with special needs populations vocationally. So helping special needs populations develop skills that they could then use in work environments. And I was given an envelope of money to help a person with special needs learn how to navigate buying things. Just going into things that we take for granted. Just going into a store and buying things and knowing how to ask for things if you don't, or becoming accustomed to asking for things if you're not accustomed to doing that. And I had to stop for gas. And the envelope, I had a binder and I had the envelope in it of money to use to teach this person how to do that. And the money fell out of the binder, apparently, because I opened the binder just because I felt I needed to compulsively check to see if the money was still in it. Welcome in, Takeshi. Shout out Takeshi. Draw to stream Takeshi. You last played no game, but Takeshi is a very cool person. I enjoy seeing them do things and say things. It's very, very high marks for me. And so I checked the binder just compulsively. I had no reason to check it, but I just looked inside and there was no money inside of it. I immediately went back to the gas station and the money was gone. It was just gone. I, in that context, could have told myself that this was an awful situation, that I was entrusted with this money in order to do this thing for this well-intentioned purpose, and it's just gone. I no longer have the money that was entrusted to me by the organization that I am using to help people. I did not allow myself to think in terms of, okay, well, they're not going to trust me with money anymore. I wasn't going to let myself believe that the money was just chilling inside the store, that there was a good Samaritan that picked up the money, took it inside, said somebody dropped their money, and then had nobody touch the money. I couldn't depend my peace of mind on that. Because if I did, I didn't have enough information. And so I would feel I would feel crushed if the money couldn't be found. And so in that moment, I said to myself, this is the situation. You had money, now you don't. Do what you can to try to tell where the money could be. And if it doesn't, then you are able to build patience, acceptance, and courage by talking to your organization, saying to them you left the money, and then saying that you'll basically work it off or make it back to them. And so if you do that, if you act against the fear, if you say to the fear that you are not in control, I am, then people typically will notice that. They will see that modeled in your behavior, and it improves the chances that they'll try to think in terms like that themselves. Or, at the very least, even if they don't, then you know that you tried to turn what was a really inconvenient, unfortunate, in the conventional sense, situation into something useful for yourself. And I went back to the organization and I said to them what happened, and they were like, "It's fine." And that was it. So imagine if I had let myself believe all the things that the various propositions were suggesting me to believe, that my organization was never going to trust me again, or that I had failed in some way because money happened to slip out of a binder despite my best efforts onto the ground and was taken. This is the basis for what I was describing before. The Stoic perception that a person's actions necessarily follow from the judgments they agree and hold to. If a similar situation happens, again, and like the backpack thing and the money thing, and they believe that that something good has been taken from them, that the laptop is a good, that the money is a good, they will react negatively or severely depending on their impression of how big of a deal it is. They will blame other people. They will even hate other people. They will cry out against other people that they believe have denied or taken away this good thing from them. Welcome in, Bad Kitty. Good to see you. Enjoy your lurk. Shout out, Bad Kitty 23. Bad Kitty has recently started streaming, and she deserves to be recognized because she is neat. If there was ever a person that was just neat made manifest, it is Bad Kitty, for sure. If external things, if the things that are outside of ourselves are valued above the characteristics that improve us as rational social animals, aka if we value external things, nice things, over patience, endurance, acceptance, things like that, then we are going to be at the constant mercy of things happening outside of ourselves. We commit ourselves to just being a constantly reactive agent. We have to guard ourselves and feel that we need to be guarded from anything that gets in our way or anything that's even remotely inconvenient. If we value the virtues inside of ourselves and we value our impact on other people above external things, our willingness to blame other people, to hate them, to call them out, to manipulate them, to exploit them, or take advantage of them in any other way is gone. It just goes away. Maybe not fully, maybe not all at once, but it does get stamped down. Make distinct to yourself what is and isn't in your control whenever you're doing anything as simple as just walking into the kitchen or going to the store or what have you. Just try to observe what's happening inside of you in that moment, and try to think of yourself, of what you're doing in terms of, I'm here for this reason. I can't control whether people approach me nicely or not nicely. I can control how I react to them, but I am only one element in all of this. But though I am one element, I still have something inside of myself that is invulnerable, which is the ability to choose, which is to try to make the most of things that I don't want to happen, or even things that I do want to happen. You're capable of observing how you form judgments in yourself, and of exercising control over your granting, your giving, your belief to each new thing that happens, each new proposition of X thing seems to be happening, and Y is how I feel about it. The purpose of viewing things in this way is to avoid error in yourself. Is to turn what would otherwise be missteps in your thinking into things that just improve you. It's these types of judgments that result consistently in the rational emotions I described before. The joy, the caution, and benevolence, otherwise known as wishing. We, according to Epictetus, we are both the craftsman and the material. We are composed of all the materials that we need in order to improve ourselves. We have the tools that are just there, that are just chilling. Welcome in, Tolk. Shout out to TV. So self-mastery is the core of being a practicing Stoic, of using this stuff circumstantially. Again, you don't have to be a Stoic in order to make use of this stuff. You are your greatest potential enemy or ally to your own progress. The difference is which of the two roles you take and reference yourself is going to depend on your choices and the judgments that are in you and what you are trying to use from outside yourself to improve yourself. Shout out Nova X Hanzo. I'm doing good. I am doing very good. We're probably going to continue for, I imagine, about an hour and then swap to Wuthering Waves. Oh, because the community needs it. Wuthering Waves has electrolytes. Oh, fuck. I was also monetarily incentivized to play to play Wuthering Waves by my wonderful community. And it's been on my radar. I've heard that the story is a little bit, you know, like we have the Expanse at home, or we have Honkai Star Rail at home, but I've heard that the gameplay is really good. As a result of your efforts, your ability to monitor what you're feeling and why, to analyze yourself, to self-assess, is going to improve. It just will, just from trying deliberately to think in terms like these. At the same time, your skill in evaluating what you're feeling, your desires, your fears, your opinions, judgments, and your belief is going to get better. It's going to become more accurate. Understanding your intentions behind what you do is pivotal. And discerning whether your actions are beneficial or harmful to you as a human being. You will make mistakes, like I mentioned before. But then it becomes on you and in your ability to determine whether you just stay in that like erroneous state or you recover yourself. And recovering yourself is always possible because, again, everything that I'm talking about is completely internal. It doesn't rely on anything outside of yourself. You want to avoid, as my dude Epictetus, paraphrasing him anyway, once said, don't make it a habit. Don't make it a habit of just being like, okay, well, I fucked up, but I fucked up like 100 times before. Don't think about it in terms like that. Think about it in terms of like, okay, I made a mistake. I let myself get overwhelmed, and I let myself be a shitty person towards another person. I'm going to do better. Hi, guy. That's Fran's favorite game. Especially dressed as a hot dog. Shout out Control. I don't know if Dad streams, but we're gonna throw one of these out here just in case. We gotta improve ourselves, but it doesn't mean we dog ourselves for the shortcomings. Exactly. Yes. Over time, you'll learn how to deal with really fucked up shit constructively, without being compromised or without losing perspective. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that it's gonna be easy. But I was threatened with a combat-ready katana once, and I found ways of helping myself mentally learn or grow from that. So can you. Now, I'm not saying that you should put yourself in a position where you get threatened with a combat-ready katana. I'm just saying is that eventually, with enough practice, you will be able to take really messed up situations and you will be able to feel yourself, identify, look at what you're feeling, how, to what extent, and to how to bring yourself back to your own center and use what's happening, as unfortunate or messed up as it is, to improve yourself as a person. And once you feel yourself start doing that, that means that means that you're getting it. You're starting to unlock stuff, dude, in you that is just chilling there. It may take a while, and life is not going to, as we all know, life is not going to exactly wait for us to say, okay, I'm ready, hit the green light, fuck me up. It's not going to do that. Sometimes it's just going to throw shit at you that you're not prepared for. But if you are dealing with things that you're not prepared for, and you still are able to stand inwardly upright at least a little bit, again, no one can take that away from you. Ever. No matter what. So I noticed how dejected I was when I got last minute subs to play the game again. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm a hot dog next week, so it's gonna happen. So like, what kind of shithole do you live where this is happening? No offense. I don't think it's location based. Xantos, I'm pretty sure that you can go to Amazon at any time and just grab a katana. We do live in 2024 where you can have things shipped to you. I don't think it's geographically based. Okay. Just don't play Metal Gear Revengeance either. Jetstream Sans Grass. You should play it, Franny. Maybe that could be your anime game, your anime weeb game. Metal Gear Revengeance does qualify as that. It does qualify as that. Every hardship is an opportunity to improve the characteristics best suited to handle it. Every situation is an opportunity to progress, no matter what the context is. Every passing moment, you are trying to identify what your role is in the situation and act in accordance with it, as long as you're not pressed to do anything that would cause you to betray your own trust, to break promises to people so far as you can help it, or to become worse. In those situations, you just refuse to participate. The whole of the human race is linked by our shared quality of reason. Every single person that you see, that you make eye contact with, or that you hear about, is your brother and sister. Not by blood, but by this shared quality of reason. They might not see it. They might not ever think in terms like these, but you can, and you do. Your goal as a practicing Stoic, if you choose to accept it, is to try to see things in these terms. Your role towards yourself is influenced by your approach and your roles towards others. Though the wills of other people make them capable of understanding of what you're trying to accomplish in yourself, it's not guaranteed. It's even unlikely that they might be confused by it. There's been a few times throughout my life where I tried to explain to who happened to be my significant other at the time what Stoicism was and what I was trying to, and how I used it in order to improve myself. And they said, okay, well, you're trying to make yourself a robot. Some people are just not going to get it. Okay. And disregard the fact that I'm a robot man in a toga right now. Okay. That's just, that just happens to be, a coincidence more than anything else. Also, welcome in, Digital Drywolf. Good to see you. How you doing, buddy? It's Saturday. Huzzah. Saturday and a long Memorial Day weekend. Unless you work in a position where, you know, you're expected to work on Memorial Day weekend, which I guess would be like grocery stores and GameStops, maybe. Dude, fuck GameStop, man. How they approach you, how other people approaches you, how they think is not your responsibility. It is your responsibility to try to be mindful and kind towards other people. In many cases, this will be easier said than done. In others, it's going to require more strength than you've ever asked of yourself to do anything. Especially in cases where you felt severely wronged by the person. Or that there's something about the person that you feel very negatively about that you're trying to get on top of. You will gain so much more by trying to approach them, modeling the behaviors that you would like to see in yourself. Eventually, they will take root. One of your most crucial tasks is reassigning value from outside things and try to turn it inward. The things that have gotten your attention, whether you want them to be happening or not, you're trying to make the best of. And you're trying to take whatever losses happen or whatever losses seem to be happening and turning them into something constructive. In doing, you're enabling yourself to better understand, better account for, and better handle saddening but unavoidable life events, such as like illnesses, people passing away, people doing things that are not what you would think would be characteristic of them. Just be mindful of what's going on inside of you and handle things to the best of your ability. And in cases where you don't feel as though you can reasonably handle it yourself, it's absolutely valid and worth it to try to seek out those that you see as your role models, or people that you know would improve you. You want to try to avoid spending time with people that you believe make you worse. The desires and fears that a person has, that you have, of not being able to afford this or that thing, or try to avoid difficult talks with people, or whether you'll get this or that job, and so on. Those are what we feel most often, typical sense, conventional sense, modern day. Your desires and fears will slowly change in composition the more often and sincerely you practice the stuff that is coming out of my mouth. Eventually, you will find that you no longer desire this or that thing as much as you felt that you did, and that you will start to learn about why you feel the things that you do, about what judgments you have or what habits you have, so that you can be in a position to try to counteract them, of trying to install new judgments, new habits on top of those old ones. You will stop fearing those things that you're afraid of just by their appearance, or by their suggested appearance. Hey, D-Bolt, good to see you. Shout out D-Bolt the bear. D-Bolt plays a lot of Dead by Daylight. I have no fucking idea what's going on when I well, that's not exactly true, is it? During Dead by Daylight, I understand that there is a bad dude and there are 4 dudes that are trying not to get murderized by the bad dude, right? There is a avalanche of terms that are involved in semi-competitive to competitive Dead by Daylight gameplay that scares me. So while Dead by Daylight is like a bucket list thing for me to play, it's gonna I will live vicariously through D-Bolt and Tolk TV and others that enjoy Dead by Daylight for at least a bit longer, I think. And not just because I have too many games-itis, which I do. So your goals will be self-realizable, self-sustaining. Their completion depends on you and you alone. To try to do the best that you can with what you have and the time that you have it, and letting everything else happen the way that it's going to, after everything else shakes out. And then you trying to make the most of the result to improve yourself as a person. You make yourself more virtuous, i.e., you make yourself more independent. You make yourself an acting agent instead of a reacting one. And the knowledge that you're doing it can never be taken away by anyone or anything. It results in a type of happiness, a joy, and the rational emotion Stoicism term. It's a happiness that's more complex than the modern notion. In the Stoicism is referred to, well, Greek language in general, referred to as eudaimonia, which is like excellence or like improvement of the soul. Is infinitely, indefinitely sustainable. It's not easy to maintain, especially because most of us have not had a ton of practice in thinking this way and benefiting from it. But once it becomes second nature, it's something that you can call upon at any time. It allows you to embrace who you are and who you could be, and set goals for becoming that person that you wish that you could be by your own efforts. This state of being is what allowed the ancient Stoics to do the sorts of things that they did, for the reasons that they did, to the extent that they did, independent of whether they had anything to materially gain or lose. Thanks so much. It's been nice listening in on this. I'm glad that it's helping, even if a little bit. The Stoics had a term for this, to act in accordance with nature. To try to Try to identify why things are happening the way that they are, to the degree that they are. To try to understand what our place is in relation to those things that do be happening. To try to become a good person regardless of whether we can conventionally benefit from it or not. And to try to model those behaviors for other people. Life is hard enough. Life is hard enough without trying to make it difficult on each other. And these tools that I'm suggesting, these tools that I've been grafting into my own brain for the better part of a decade, is how you can get there. I will say again, it does not take a decade for you to make use of this stuff. You can use it right now and benefit from it right now, from trying to think this way. Because it's not so much you successfully using it as you trying to use it. The intentionality of it is almost as important as the actual success of doing it, if not equally as important. I felt better about my day-to-day within about like a month of trying to just pretend, to try to LARP, to try to RP as somebody that thinks in terms like these. Because if you want to, just like if you want to do anything, just like if you want to take on like a new profession or a hobby or a skill or an art or a craft or something like that, you have to just bang sticks of rocks together to make it happen. you have to make like a billion. I mean, Xantos would probably tell you because he's a carpenter. You have to make like a billion stools before you can make like a table. Well, anyway, right? But you're still making stools. You're still making tables. Okay, I don't know anything about carpentry. Artisan carpentry. Tables are the easiest thing to make. Okay, well then, genius, you give an example. What's something that you have to do over and over again? You little shit. Oh. Okay. I think I've sufficiently blown out my voice. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna transition to. I'm gonna take a 5 to 10 minute. I know we just got back. I know that we just got back, but we're going to transition to Wuthering Waves. If you've enjoyed this, if you only plan on sticking around for the Stoicism part and like this, consider following if you like this a ton. Consider subscribing. It gets you a whole bunch of emotes. It gets you ad-free viewing. And every single penny goes back into making the streams better. I'm going to take about 5 to 10 minutes to swap everything over to Wuthering Waves. And then we'll see if it's good. Wolfer says that it's good. Franny says that it's good. Sleep Monster says that it's good. I trust the opinions of all these people. Miters? That's a fake word. Nobody... The hell is a miter? Miter. What are your thoughts on the WWE PPV? Pay-per-view? Let me check. Let me see what my thoughts are on that. Give me a moment. Let me check. What do I feel about the WWE PPV? Give me a second. Let me cook. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. Okay, well, you know, I'm connected to the internet, but apparently it doesn't matter. Give me a second. I'll tell you how I feel about WWE. I feel like if you immediately make Lyra Valkyria into Becky Lynch's sidekick, you're not allowed to call her an underdog in the narrative. Not allowed showing skin. Allowed dressing Liv Morgan up as a dominatrix. Liv's from New Jersey. I have no choice but to root for her. Jersey blood is more powerful. Jersey blood over Irish blood. That's how I feel about it. Liv won. Sick. Wait, is that good? Hang on, I need to reevaluate.
My external appearance is down 5%. Shion,
Say
I need
something,
to be cleaned.
Stoic. You got like a whole free one. If it's not true, don't say it. If it's not good, don't do it. There it is. You're from New Jersey? No, I'm not. I read it's the Marsh's take on the Stoicism section doesn't have to end if we have channel points. Not true. I will be right back. All right, I'm gonna swap everything over. I'll see you in 5 to 7 minutes.